Story 1. The Rider from the Dead Store. I've been driving for Lyft for about 3 years now. I stick to the night shift, usually 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. The roads are empty, the tips are better, and you don't have to deal with rush hour traffic in Newark. I drive a 2011 Honda Civic. It's got a few dents and makes a weird rattling noise when I hit 60, but it's reliable. I thought I was street smart. I thought I knew how to handle weirdos. But nothing prepared me for the ride I picked up last November. It was 2:15 a.m. on a Tuesday. Dead quiet. I was idling in a parking lot near the airport, scrolling through Reddit, when a request popped up. Pickup, quick stop convenience, 4.8 stars. Passenger, Michael. It was only 5 minutes away, in an industrial part of town filled with warehouses and shipping containers. I accepted it. As I drove toward the pin, that primal gut feeling started to kick in. You know the one. The prickle on the back of your neck that tells you something is wrong before your brain figures it out. When I turned onto the street, I realized why. The convenience store was closed. Not just closed for the night, it looked abandoned. The windows were boarded up with plywood. The sign was missing letters. The parking lot was pitch black, overgrown with weeds. Standing under the only flickering street light was my passenger. I slowed down, debating whether to just keep driving. He was wearing a gray hoodie that was so dirty it looked stiff. There were holes in the sleeves, exposing pale, scabby skin. He was pacing back and forth in a tight circle, his movements jerky and frantic, like a wind-up toy winding down. He saw my car and stopped. He stared right at me. I should have canceled. My finger hovered over the button, but guilt, or maybe stupidity, took over. It was freezing outside. If I left him here, who else would come? I pulled up and unlocked the doors. He opened the back door and slid in. The smell hit me instantly. A mix of stale cigarettes, unwashed clothes, and something metallic, like copper or old pennies. "Michael?" I asked, looking in the rearview mirror. He didn't answer. He didn't even look at me. He just stared straight ahead, his eyes wide and unblinking in the mirror reflection. I cleared my throat and put the car in drive. All right, heading to 4th Street? Still nothing. I pulled out of the lot. The silence in the car was suffocating. I reached for the radio dial to put on some low-volume lo-fi beats, just to drown out the sound of my own anxious breathing. "Turn it off," he rasped. His voice sounded like he had swallowed gravel. I flinched. "Sorry?" "The music. Turn it off." I turned it off immediately. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. We drove in silence for about 5 minutes. The only sound was the hum of the tires and his shallow, raspy breathing. Then he spoke again. "You ever pick up someone you shouldn't have?" The question hung in the air like a bad smell. I forced a nervous laugh. "Well, I hope not. Everyone's been pretty cool tonight." He didn't laugh. He leaned forward, just enough that his face came into the light of the dashboard. He was smiling, a wide, toothy grin that didn't reach his eyes. "I used to drive," he whispered. "Uber. Quit last year." "Oh yeah?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Why'd you quit?" "Some punk stole from me," he muttered. He started wringing his hands together in his lap. "Stole my tips. Stole my chargers. People, they trust you too much. Sitting right behind you, vulnerable." I glanced at the GPS. 7 minutes to drop off. It felt like 7 hours. He started mumbling to himself then. At first, it was incoherent. Then I started catching phrases. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to hit him that hard. Shut up. Just shut up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He was having a full-blown conversation with himself, or with someone who wasn't there. I was terrified. I kept checking the mirror, watching his hands. He kept reaching into the front pocket of his hoodie, then pulling his hand back out over and over again. Suddenly, he screamed, "You missed the turn!" I jumped, swerving slightly. "What? No, the GPS says, 'Pull over!'" he roared. He slammed his fist into the back of my seat. "Let me out! Now!" We were in the middle of a bridge overpass. There was nowhere to go. But I wasn't going to argue with him. I slammed on the brakes and pulled onto the narrow shoulder. Okay. I put the car in park and unlocked the doors. "Get out!" But he didn't move. In the rearview mirror, I saw blue and red lights flash behind us. A police cruiser was coming up the ramp, probably just on patrol. The guy in my back seat saw the lights and panicked. He slumped down, lying flat across the seat, so he couldn't be seen through the windows. "Don't say anything," he hissed. The police car drove past us slowly. The officer shined his spotlight into my car for a second, blinding me, then continued on without stopping. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I was going to pass out. The guy stayed down for a full minute after the cop was gone. Then, he sat up slowly. He looked at me in the mirror. His face was completely blank again. The anger was gone. "You got lucky tonight," he whispered. He opened the door and stepped out onto the highway shoulder. He didn't close the door. He just vaulted over the concrete barrier and disappeared into the darkness below the bridge. I drove away with the back door still flapping open until I could safely pull over and shut it. I went straight home. I didn't drive for a week. 3 days later, I was scrolling through local news. A headline caught my eye. "Clerk found critical after robbery at abandoned Quick Stop." The article said a squatter had been living in the boarded-up store. He had ambushed a construction worker who stopped to check the building that night. He beat the guy with a pipe and stole his wallet. The time of the attack? 1:45 a.m. I picked him up at 2:15 a.m. He had blood on his hands. That metallic smell in the car? That wasn't pennies.
That was blood.
I bought a dual-lens dash cam the next day. And if a pickup location looks abandoned, I don't stop. I keep driving. Story 2. The Silence in Smoky Hollow. I used to be a sound engineer in downtown Chicago. My life was loud. Concerts, subways, traffic, shouting. But 3 years ago, I developed a severe case of hyperacusis. It's a hearing disorder where everyday sounds become physically painful. A car horn felt like a needle in my eardrum. A slamming door felt like a punch to the chest. My doctor told me I needed to decompress. I needed silence. So I did something drastic. I rented a remote cabin deep in the Great Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. It was miles from the nearest paved road, tucked away in a valley locals called Smoky Hollow. No cell service, no neighbors, and most importantly, no man-made noise. The cabin was rustic, heavy timber, stone foundation, and a tin roof. For the first week, it was paradise. The only sounds were the wind in the hemlocks and the rushing creek. My nervous system finally started to unclench. On my 5th day, I met Mrs. Gable. I was chopping wood, a dull, rhythmic thud that I could tolerate, when I felt eyes on me. I turned around. Standing at the edge of the clearing was an elderly woman. She looked like a caricature of an Appalachian grandmother, long gray hair braided down her back, a faded floral dress, and mud-caked boots. She was holding a mason jar of pickled okra. "Welcome to the Hollow," she said. Her voice was scratchy, like dry leaves. She told me she lived in the cabin just over the ridge, about a 15-minute hike through the woods. She seemed harmless, maybe a little lonely. I took the okra, thanked her, and tried to be polite despite my desire to be alone. Before she left, she grabbed my wrist. Her grip was surprisingly strong. "Keep your curtains drawn at night, son," she whispered. "And if you hear whistling, don't whistle back." It was a creepy, cryptic warning, but I brushed it off as local superstition. The Smokies are full of old folklore. That night, a massive storm rolled in. Thunder boomed off the valley walls, shaking the cabin. For me, the noise was excruciating. I put in my heavy-duty earplugs and curled up on the rug in front of the fireplace, trying to ride it out. Around 11 p.m., through the earplugs and the thunder, I felt a vibration. Someone was pounding on the front door. I pulled a plug out. Bang, bang, bang! I grabbed a flashlight and opened the door. It was Mrs. Gable. She was soaked to the bone, her gray hair plastered to her face, shivering violently. "He's watching you," she sputtered, pointing into the darkness behind the cabin. "I saw him. A man. He was crouching by your propane tank." My stomach dropped. "Who?" "I don't know," she cried. "I was walking home and I saw his light. You need to lock everything. Do you have a gun?" "No," I said. "I don't like guns." She looked at me with wide, terrified eyes. "Lock the door. Don't come out." Then, before I could offer her shelter, she turned and sprinted back into the rain. It was odd. She moved fast for an old woman. Too fast. I locked the deadbolt. I pushed the heavy oak table against the door. I grabbed my flashlight and shined it out the back window toward the propane tank. Nothing. Just rain and shadows. I didn't sleep. I sat in the corner of the living room, clutching a fire poker, listening to the storm fade. Around 3 a.m., the rain stopped. The silence returned. But it wasn't peaceful anymore. It was heavy. Then I heard a sound that made my skin crawl. Snap. A twig breaking. Right outside the kitchen window. I crept over, staying low, and peeked through the gap in the curtains. The clouds had parted enough for the moon to shine through. Standing at the edge of the tree line was Mrs. Gable. She wasn't looking at my house. She was facing the woods, waving her flashlight in a slow, deliberate circle. On. Off. On. Off. She was signaling someone. A cold realization washed over me. She hadn't come to warn me earlier. She had come to check if I had a gun. She asked me point blank, and I told her no. I watched as she turned off the light and melted back into the shadows. I retreated to the bathroom, the only room with a lockable door and no windows. I sat in the bathtub with my fire poker, trembling. At sunrise, the noise began. It wasn't a knock. It was the sound of glass shattering. The kitchen window. Then, heavy boots crunching on the glass. My hyperacusis made every sound amplified. I could hear the intruder breathing. It was a wet, wheezing sound. A man. I heard him opening drawers. Clatter. Bang. I heard him sweeping things off shelves. He was looking for something. Or someone. "Come out, little rabbit," a deep voice rumbled. It vibrated in my chest. He walked toward the bathroom. I saw the doorknob turn. Locked. He didn't kick it down. He just stood there. I could hear him sniffing the air. Then, distant sirens. I had managed to get a single bar of service in the bathtub and sent a text to 911 an hour earlier. The intruder heard the sirens too. "Next time," he growled. I heard him run out the back door. The sheriff's deputies found me 20 minutes later, curled up in the tub. I told them everything. I told them about the man, and I told them about Mrs. Gable, the neighbor who signaled him. "We need to go to her cabin," I insisted. "Over the ridge." The deputies agreed. We hiked the 15 minutes through the woods. When we got there, my blood ran cold. There was a cabin, yes, but the roof had collapsed years ago. The door was hanging off its hinges. The inside was filled with rotted leaves and raccoon droppings. No one had lived there for decades, but on the porch, fresh in the mud, were 2 sets of footprints. 1 set of heavy work boots, and 1 set of small women's sneakers. Mrs. Gable wasn't a neighbor. She was a squatter. She and the man were a team. She was the scout, the sweet old lady who gained your trust, cased the property, found out if you were armed, and then signaled the muscle to come in. I moved back to the city. The noise is painful, yes, but at least in the city, when you hear a siren, you know help is close. In the woods, silence just means no one can hear you scream. Story 3. The Caller on Route 275. My name is Ethan. I met my girlfriend Maya 2 years ago when we were both working as baristas in Denver. We bonded over our shared hatred of customers who order bone-dry cappuccinos and our love for 2000s pop-punk music. Maya is from Omaha, Nebraska. I'm from Colorado. Since the drive is about 8 hours, mostly flat, mind-numbing interstate, we usually take turns visiting each other's families. This happened last Halloween. We decided to drive out to Omaha on October 31st so we could spend the weekend with her parents and help hand out candy to her nieces and nephews. We left Denver around 6 p.m. By the time we crossed the state line into Nebraska, it was pitch black. If you've never driven through rural Nebraska at night, it's a unique kind of darkness. There are no streetlights, no hills, just endless, towering rows of dry corn stalks on both sides of the highway, illuminated only by your high beams. It feels like driving through a tunnel made of dead plants. It was around 11:30 p.m. We were on Route 275, a 2-lane highway that feels like it leads to the edge of the earth. Maya was dozing in the passenger seat, her head resting against the window. I was blasting a nostalgic Fall Out Boy playlist to stay awake. The music cut out. My car's Bluetooth display lit up. Unknown caller. I groaned. I ignored it. Probably a car warranty scam bot working overtime. 2 minutes later, the music cut out again. Unknown caller. "Give me a break," I muttered, declining the call. Maya stirred next to me. "Who keeps calling?" she mumbled, rubbing her eyes. "Just spam," I said. "Go back to sleep." 5 minutes later. Ring, ring, ring. I snapped. I was tired, I was hopped up on energy drinks, and the empty road was making me edgy. I hit the answer button on the steering wheel, ready to scream at some poor call center employee. "What?" I barked. I expected silence, or a robotic voice. Instead, I heard breathing. Slow, steady, nasal breathing. It sounded like the person was holding the phone right up to their mouth. Then, a man's voice spoke. It was deep, calm, and unsettlingly clear. "Hello, Ethan." I froze. My hands gripped the steering wheel tight. The car swerved slightly, dipping onto the rumble strips before I corrected it.
Who is this?
I asked, my voice dropping an octave. The man didn't answer the question. Instead, he started reciting numbers. 452, 80, 9911. My blood turned to ice. That was my social security number. "How did you..." "You live at 402 Aspen Way, apartment 4B," the voice continued, smooth as silk. "You drive a 2018 Subaru Crosstrek. You failed your microeconomics final in 2017. I looked at the dashboard. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. This wasn't a scam. This was someone who had been digging into my life for a long time. "What do you want?" I shouted. "Is this money? You want money?" Maya was fully awake now. She was staring at me, her face pale in the glow of the dashboard lights. "Ethan, hang up." "Hang up right now." I ignored her. I needed to know who this psycho was. "Who are you?" The man on the phone chuckled. It was a dry, rasping sound. "Oh, Ethan," he said. "You're just the driver. I'm not here for you." He paused for a beat, letting the silence stretch out over the Nebraska cornfields. "I'm here for Maya." The air left the car. I looked over at Maya. She wasn't looking at me. She was staring at the radio display, her eyes wide with a terror I had never seen before. She wasn't confused. She recognized the voice. "I know she's sitting right next to you," the man whispered. "Tell her Daddy says hello." Before I could process what he said, Maya lunged across the center console. She didn't just press the end call button. She grabbed my phone from the mount, held down the power button until it shut off completely, and threw it into the back seat. "Drive!" she screamed. "Just drive, Ethan!" "Maya, what the hell?" I yelled, hitting the gas. "Who was that? He had my social security number. He said, 'Stop talking!'" She shrieked. She was shaking violently, wrapping her arms around herself. "Just get us to my parents' house. Don't stop the car. Don't you dare stop the car." I drove the last 90 minutes in silence, doing 95 miles per hour. I kept checking the rearview mirror, expecting to see headlights chasing us, but the road behind us was empty. When we got to her parents' house, she ran inside and locked the door without waiting for me. Here's the thing that keeps me up at night. We've been together for 2 years. I know her parents. I know her dad. He's a soft-spoken dentist named Bob who loves golf. That voice on the phone was definitely not Bob. I tried to ask her about it the next morning. She shut me down. She told me it was just a sick prank, and if I ever brought it up again, we were done. But I know what I heard. And more importantly, I saw her reaction. You don't react like that to a prank. You react like that to a ghost. I'm still with her, but things are different now. Every time her phone rings, she flinches. And I can't stop wondering, who exactly is sitting in the passenger seat next to me? And what did she run away from before she met me?